Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk a little bit about phones, about technology and that kind of thing, and why I generally go for the cheapest sort of thing rather than going for the most expensive sort of thing. So I've got a Moto G31 or something like that, I'm not sure what it is. It looks like this. It's got this kind of neat sort of iridescent blue, although the iridescence is kind of faded. Cracks all over it, if you can see them. Turn off. You can see all the cracks on it, right? I've had this for nearly 2 years. I want to get it to at least a 2-year mark, right? And I spent 120 quid on it. Now, I could have spent £500 on, you know, the latest Samsung or whatever. I could have spent £300 and gotten a decent Sony sort of, is it Xperia or whatever they have? I could have got something like that. I could have invested like, you know, 1,200 quid into getting the newest iPhone, and yet I didn't do any of that. Now, why didn't I do that? There's a few reasons for that. The first one is safety, right? So if I'm walking along, right, and because in London there's phone snatchers and stuff where if you're on your phone and you're at the side of the road, someone will just yoink and they take it, right? I don't really want that to happen to me full stop, but if it were to happen, I would much rather they get away with a 120 quid phone that is now probably worth about, what, 15 quid with all the cracks on it, right? I'd much rather they get that, right, than get my £1,200 smartphone, right? Like iPhone or whatever, the latest, greatest thing with all the new 4K cameras and, you know, crazy OLED screens and whatever the hell they have, like quad-core chips or something. I don't know what they have, right, that makes them so expensive. And that's kind of the second reason, is that I don't really see what these phones can do that my phone can't. So, I mean, it's not that I haven't used other people's more expensive phones and sort of seen how they use their phone and go, oh, wow, that is quite useful, and that kind of thing. And there have been times where someone has shown me their new phone and it is technology that has just blown me the hell away, right? I remember being at this networking event about 3 weeks ago, right? And I got talking to this lad, and he had some like proper kitted out phone from the future, right? And he was showing me the camera on it, and he just zoomed in and in and in to someone that was way on the other side of the room. And I'm talking, it was a big room, bigger than this in here, like 5 times the size of this, right? He zoomed right in onto their face, onto their nostrils, right? He got that close in without even really losing any quality, because that was all optical zoom, or it was making use of, like, because you know how some of these phones have like 8 lenses on here. Mine's got 3. Mine has a 0.5 width, whatever that means. It's got a 1x width, whatever that means. It's just a bit closer in, like as a focal thing. And then there's one here that's like a macro, and they're all fine. They all take pictures. Like, whenever you're taking a picture on a phone, it's kind of just for the sake of, you know, sending something that you need to send someone. Like, I don't know, you're selling something on Facebook and you need to take a picture of it. Well, there you are, quick picture of it, right? Yeah, I could get a big iPhone that could get like almost professional quality looking things out of it. But then it returns back to the first point of safety. I don't really want to have to deal with that. I don't want to have to deal with someone coming along and just going, oh, I'll have that, mine, right? There you are, 1,200 quid. Also, with these big expensive phones, you kind of need to have like contents insurance on them. You need to have like phone insurance, whatever it's called. I've never had phone insurance in my life because I just get cheap phones that mean nothing if I lose them, right? So, you know, I don't know how much phone insurance is. It looks like it's like £5, £6, £7 a month, right? But that's an extra 5, you know, every year that's an extra like 60, 70 quid, right? And this phone is 2 years old and costs 120 quid. So the insurance alone costs this. And if I just don't have any insurance and then break it or lose it or whatever, then I just get a new one, right? So I'm working out in a profit compared to if I was to buy a big expensive phone and have the insurance. And yeah, I could have more apps on it. I could have more space. This has 128 gigs of space on it, and I am often running out. Usually, because I do the audio recordings on this, right? So I upload them to Google Drive and then have to kind of delete them afterwards. Whenever I do lots of video on my phone, I can't keep it on for very long. I can't download too much stuff. I can't really download like films or videos onto my phone or whatever. But, you know, I don't really mind. I'm not missing out on much. I don't feel like I'm losing out because I don't have the latest and greatest bit of equipment. And my headphones as well, I've got these, which I don't even know what they are, right? They're in a knot, right? One of them doesn't even have the bud on it. One of them does, right? But to me, it doesn't really matter. They go in your ears, right? And then it plugs in. That's another thing. I've got a headphone jack, right? You see it plugging in there, right? I've got a headphone jack. with TRRS or whatever it is that connects to microphones and makes this happen. So if I was on an iPhone, I'd have to buy that little dongle. I have bought one of those dongles so that when I'm doing filming and stuff with people that have iPhones, I can just straight away just clip it in and just make it work, right? But I don't need that for this phone. I don't need anything like that. And it just generally does the job. Also, what's really good about this phone, I sound like I'm just shilling for Motorola now, which is owned by Google, so I sound like I'm just shilling for Google on a Google platform. So yeah, a bit irritating. But anyway, it's got like really good battery. It's got like something like 5,000 mAh. Is that milliamps per hour or something like that? I can't remember what it stands for, but it basically means there's a hell of a lot of battery. If I'm not using it too much, it can last for 2 days. So I charge it overnight on Monday, and then Monday and Tuesday it's fine, and then I charge it overnight from Tuesday to Wednesday, right? And that's fine, right? And also, a good thing about having a phone that is really cheap that I don't have to care about is you're not meant to really charge stuff overnight because it can lead to like electrical overload or whatever, and there's a little setting that stops it from happening on this. But either way, they tell you not to charge overnight. I don't have to worry about that. I don't have to worry about taking a charger with me everywhere I go so I can charge it in a cafe or charge it at a friend's house or charge it on those little things on the bus. I don't have to do that. I don't have to constantly worry about the charge on this. I've taken this out, right, on a night out when it's had like 23%, and I get back and it's got 2%, right? And that works out for me. I'm not sitting there worrying about it. So the fact that it had that, that's why I've stuck with Motorola this whole, like ever since I got smartphones in 2016. I've always had Motorola's, and I plan to, as long as they remain this good with regard to the battery life and that kind of thing. So that, and then the headphones, you know, sure, they don't have the best preamps or bass adjuster, EQ, whatever's on them, right? The music doesn't sound like it's coming out of a fucking live orchestra from this, but it still sounds fine. It sounds like the music I like. I like the music I like, and I like it playing in my ears, right? I'm not precious about it. I'm not like an audiophile. I'm not someone that goes, oh, well, it's only being rendered at 44,000 MHz or whatever. I want it rendered at 96,000. So I don't care, right? Do you notice that? Do you notice the immense amount of difference between 44,000 and 96,000? In terms of just a sheer number, yeah, there is a big difference. But when it comes to the actual quality of the sound in your ears, in terms of what your ears perceive, I don't hear anything. I don't hear a difference, right? Sure, maybe if I sat down and did a test and comparison, I could figure out, oh yeah, this one actually does sound better, right? I could do that, but what's the point? Because I can just go around, and these cost like 10 quid. And when I break these, I'll get another set for 10 quid. They don't matter, right? They're fine. Why would I spend like 400 quid on a pair of headphones when this does the job, right? And it's not like those £400 headphones are 40 times better than these £10 headphones. They're just not. They're 5 times better, right? I don't see why I need to spend an extra 40 times the amount of money to get something that's 5 times better. I have just made those numbers up, by the way. And yeah, I'm not super precious about these kind of things, because the reason is, I feel like part of it as well, especially with this channel, is that it kind of proves that you don't need the latest and greatest equipment. Like, this camera is like 12 years old. This phone is like, I bought it 2 years ago, but it's like a 4-year-old phone. These headphones I've had for about 3 years now, and they still are going strong. I just need to get a new bud to put in this, because it is a little bit uncomfortable. They just disappear. I know you can get the ones that don't have the buds that just like go in like that and they kind of hang off your ear, but my ears don't fit for them. They don't work in my ears. I don't know why, but maybe it's just a personal thing. They just don't work for me. Having it in like that, oh, it's awful. I hate it. I really don't like it. And yeah, that's kind of it really, is that I don't get all the latest and greatest stuff because, one, the safety sort of thing. I don't have to worry about it like that much if it gets lost or damaged or whatever. I can just go, oh, great. It's annoying, right? But it's not like the end of the world. And then I have to think about, oh, that's like 1,200 quid gone, or, oh yeah, but I did get the contents phone insurance, and that's even more money I've been spending. So yeah, I get it back from that. And I don't see the value in it for me. For me, right, and that's, I think, the thing I want to make clear is that I'm not judging people that do it differently from me. I'm not saying, oh, you need to do it this way, you need to get cheap shit because you're not a good enough person if you're, you think you're too good for this stuff. I'm not trying to say any of that. I'm just trying to show you my perspective, why I go for the stuff that I go for, why I'm not super precious about, you know, the specs of my phone or the specs of my fucking audio receivers from this. I have got a pair of better headphones at home, like Sony studio headphones. You see them on like KEXP and like Tiny Desk concerts and stuff and like podcasts. I see them wearing my headphones. I always like that. It's always like, ooh, cool, they're wearing my headphones. The only reason I have those is because they don't have any like, in-ear compression, EQ, or audio adjustment of any kind, right? It's just pretty much the raw audio, as close to raw audio as you can really get, which is useful for audio engineering and like, you know, EQing yourself and that kind of thing. They're not very good for just listening to music casually. They're fine for podcasts and stuff, but they're not very good for listening to music casually because you kind of hear a lot of the flaws in the production. Even on like really good albums, you start to hear like little hisses and like clicks and stuff. But that's part of what, you know, not everything is perfect. Everything is sort of slightly imperfect and it's been polished over by, you know, various processes that we kind of have to make everything seem more professional than it really is, right? And yeah, that's it really. I get this stuff because it works for me. I don't feel like I'm losing out on having, you know, more expensive stuff. I don't feel like I'm falling behind in any regard in the technological fucking race to the bottom. I don't, you know, I'm not worried about it. It's just a phone. It's just some headphones. It's, you know, just a camera, right? And it's a good camera. It's you know, when it came out, it was like 12 grand, but now it's only like, you can get one of these for like 400, 500 quid now. I got mine for 600, but it's like, it's 4 years old at this point. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching this one. Leave your comments in the thing below about what kind of phone do you have? What kind of headphones do you have? Do you kind of get where I'm coming from with this whole getting the cheap stuff sort of thing? Or do you think that I am perhaps missing out and that, you know, I could get a hell of a lot of use out of a more expensive phone or a more expensive laptop or a more expensive set of headphones? And if you do think that, let me know what kind of benefits do come with that are kind of like, you know, slice of life sort of tiny little useful conveniences for your life rather than, you know, specs and stuff. Because, you know, if I wanted to buy a chart spreadsheet, I would buy a chart spreadsheet. I wouldn't go and buy a phone just because it's got like number 833 rather than number 712. And yeah, that's about it from me. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye. Ow. Hey up everybody. My name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk a little bit about music and how for the past sort of 3 to 4 months I haven't really made much music, and I wanted to sort of get into why, because on this channel some of my most viewed videos and some of my most well-received videos are the ones about just make music, man. Just go out and make as much music as possible. It's all about making as much music as possible, right? And I feel like for the past couple of months I haven't really been like living the message that I'm actually putting out into the world. And I wanted to get a little bit into why. So for the past sort of 4 years, I've been making music pretty consistently. Only taking breaks for, you know, 2, 3, 4 months, like what I've done recently. So I might make 2, 3 albums and then take a break for a few months, and then in that break I'm kind of recuperating and coming up with new ideas and like listening to new music and stuff like that. Not actively, I'm not doing this consciously, like I have finished an album, I better go listen to some music for some inspiration. Okay, I have listened to the music and now I have got inspiration. I'm going to apply that inspiration to the music. Like it's some kind of formula, you know? Like I get the inspiration first and then I use the inspiration second. It's not really like that. What it's more like is, say you make album 1 and that's the one that you spend quite a while working on, right? And then by the time you kind of gotten to the end of album 1, you want to make something a bit faster and take the ideas that you've learned from making album 1 and you want to apply them faster, right? So then you make album 2, and usually album 2 is made in like 20% of the time that album 1 was made in, right? And album 2 generally is, sometimes it's the better one, not always, sometimes it's worse, but sometimes it's the better one, right? And then from there, you try and make number 3, but number 3 takes a bit longer than you think it's going to take. It takes maybe, the same length as album 1. But then eventually that one comes out, right? And again, sometimes it's the best of the 3, not always. Sometimes it's better than 1 and 2, sometimes it's the worst of all of them. It's just almost like a luck of the draw, because you don't really get to choose the songs that you're enamored by in the moment. You get enamored by a song and then you work so hard to put it out there, and then you kind of look back on yourself and you go, why was I so infatuated by this rather shit idea? And then, if I was to go back in time and ask my previous self, who's currently working on that song, that question, they'd almost be a little bit insulted by me going, oh, that thing that you're currently working on, pouring your heart and soul into, it's a load of shite, actually. I wouldn't mind if someone else said that, right? But me from the future would just irritate me, because it's like, I'm doing all this work for nothing. I thought I was onto something here, but it turns out I'm not. So by that point, by the time you've finished album 3, you're your creative well is reaching the bottom, right? And you can either start work on album 4 and just scrape the bottom of that barrel, because, like the bottom of a Guinness barrel is what they use to make Marmite. I'm not sure if that's exactly true, but the bottom of like oil barrels and stuff, it has its uses. That's that goop. It has its use, right? And if you can turn that into something interesting and useful, go for it. Why shouldn't you scrape the bottom of the barrel? I don't see any problem scraping the bottom of the barrel, as long as what's at the bottom of the barrel is nice. It's not always nice. Sometimes you shouldn't scrape the bottom of the barrel. Sometimes you should chuck the barrel out and get a new barrel. Depends on what's in the barrel, right? But getting away from the metaphor quite so literally for a second, and getting more into this whole idea of making a few albums as almost like an album cycle. I know an album cycle realistically means like, here's your single, here's your second single, here's your album, here's your post-album single, here's some marketing material, a few interviews with the band members and a few live performances, maybe a tour, right? That's what an album cycle really means. But when I say an album cycle, I mean like album 1, album 2, album 3, album 4, and they kind of collectivize, even if they don't really have anything in common. Like a lot of these will be like one instrumental album, one soundtrack, one with vocals, right? And then maybe one little EP or some acoustic experiment or something like that, right? Something a bit weird and out there. And it's not necessarily in that order, it can be in whatever order you want, right? And that's kind of how I approach music. So I've done my latest album cycle, which took me about a year and a half, I'd say, from sort of October 2023 to sort of December 2024. Right, that was kind of my album cycle, and I came out with 3 albums in that time, one of which I made in a day, one of which I spent 2 years working on, pretty much 2 years working on, because I've been writing it and had the ideas in my head for a lot longer than I really should have. And then one album that took a few months to make, which is kind of the average, right? And I don't hate the album that I made in a day. And some of the tracks that are on that, I think, are better than the ones that are on the album that I spent 2 years working on. So it's not necessarily about the time commitment. What it's more about is seeing where your creativity takes you and trying to try and get to those creative destinations in an efficient manner without sacrificing the quality of the material that you're actually working on, right? So the reason that I've been taking a break isn't that I haven't been writing anything. I've come up with a whole album's worth of material to sit down and record. However, I don't really want to make this music the same way that I've made so much of my music in the past. I want to get a band together. I want different sounding drums. I would like a real drummer. I'd like to record it in a studio. I would like more input on the instrumental ideas and the compositional ideas and like things for arrangement, because I'm a very guitar-centric person, and I feel like I don't want to just make guitar music all my life, But naturally to me, I think, chuck a guitar solo on that, chuck some acoustic guitar on that, put some guitar here, a little bit of guitar there, a bit of bass, right? I'm never really someone that goes, that needs piano, that needs saxophone. I don't think like that, because I'm the kind of person that likes Kraftwerk's early albums, the ones that were more guitar oriented, that Kraftwerk have completely disowned. I wish I hadn't disowned them, because personally they're my favourite Kraftwerk material. Stuff like Ruckzuck, right, which has this amazing flute on it, but that's beside the point. Is that, the reason that I've been sort of not making as much music lately is because I want to do something new, right? And it's about getting yourself into a space, refilling that barrel, or buying a new barrel, chucking the old barrel out and finding something new. Because what I find is after every album cycle, right, you come up with so many new ideas, and your general ability just like shoots through the roof, right? And you end up on a new floor, a new baseline of ability, right? Each and every single time you go through one of these little taking a break and coming back sort of things, because I would recommend you continue to practice your instrument while you're on these breaks. Like, I still play guitar every day, I just don't record everything, right? And I think maybe part of the reason is that I don't feel such an immense pressure to, because all the projects musically that I have been working on are more or less complete, with the one exception being the email band that I've been working on, right? Which I launched in January of this year, and I haven't really been as active on it as I would like, and I would like to bring the email band together for some of this, and also find people in real life to sort of jam with, and to, you know, find a studio and things like that. But at the same time, that's not going to be like, oh, I give up on just making stuff on my own, because sometimes you need to make something completely on your own because it's your vision, you have this idea, and sometimes other people will kind of get in the way of that. And that's okay, because I might get in the way of their individual projects, and the ideas that I'm putting in there that they take on board aren't necessarily for the betterment of that project, right? Even if I think they are and that person thinks that they are, it might turn out after the fact that they're not, and that's okay. Not everything works out with regards to music, and with any form of art really. And yeah, that's kind of why I've been taking a break from doing music. And it's not for a lack of wanting to get back into it and writing stuff. I've written the whole album, and it is I think it's some of my best stuff. Like, there's a 15-minute track on there which is kind of very Pink Floyd inspired, and I've been working on like putting some more sort of 70s prog elements in there, kind of like Camel, not Genesis and Yes levels prog where it's just sort of like wankiness. I don't want that. I want more Camel, Pink Floyd, a little bit Noi and sort of stuff like that, right? I want a bit of that rather than just like, you know, like ridiculously long organ solos and stuff like that. I just want a bit of fun regarding the music and a couple time signature changes and stuff like that, which I've sort of worked into the track now, and I quite like the result. And yeah, that should be, I don't know when this album will be coming out. I mean, I've written everything, I've written all the lyrics and stuff, and the lyrics are now in the phase of like the tweaking phase, where you just kind of go, right, can we find a better rhyme for this? Oh, this line doesn't really make sense anymore. Can we sort of shift it around to this? And because your mindset changes, and the better a song is, the more you'll be able to reach into that same mindset rather than forgetting the mindset quickly. Okay, not the better the song is, the more able you will be to, but the more sustainable an idea is to be worked on for the long term. Like, there's been a couple songs that I've made that are very flash in the pan that I couldn't have spent years or months working on, that needed to be done right then and right now, right? And I can't do that again. I don't have that space in my brain for that specific idea. And that is perfectly fine. Some things need more time, some things need less time. It's all about what's best for the project, right? And what I think is best for this project is, you know, sitting on it and letting it marinate a little bit and just seeing where I can go with the ideas, because I'm pretty happy with what I've made in regards to music so far. I feel like I've hit a point where I'm proud of myself, and I can just take a quick break to assess the situation and see where I can go next. Because if I just kept doing the same thing again and again, like that, it would just get stale, it would just get pointless and boring, and I don't want that. I don't think that you should strive to just make the same shit forever, right? I feel like you should do what's best for the project, and yeah, what I think is best for this project is just letting it marinate a little bit. So yeah, thank you very much for watching this video, everybody. Hope you managed to get something out of it. If you are a musician in the London area, then please email me at officialmorrisonfilms@gmail.com. That's officialmorrisonfilms@gmail.com. Or alternatively, you can Instagram message me or something like that, or whatever, right? Just get in contact or comment on this and tell me where I can message you or something like that. Tell me what you play, give me an idea of like some of the stuff you've done. If you want to meet up and find a studio or something like that, we can do some private studios kind of thing, where you can get like £40 for 3 hours, something like that. Yeah, we could have some fun with it, you know, and I want to get more into jamming and you know, engaging with other musicians and that kind of thing. Because also I want to play some stuff live. I'd love to do some live performances, proper live performances, not just like open mics and stuff. Not that I have anything against open mics, it's just that I've done a few of them, and I want to do something else. And I want to put on a show, you know, and have some kind of performance. So yeah, that's kind of the video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on the idea of taking a break for the embetterment of art. And yeah, take care everybody. Bye bye. Oh. Hey up everybody, my name's Joshua Morrison, director of Jonny Mozza's Lessons in Confidence. Today I want to talk a little bit about quantity and quality and how there's multiple philosophies around making stuff, right? So generally what you'll hear is you want to strive for quality, not quantity, as in you want to make a few really good things rather than making a load of mediocre things. I think the adage is something like, would you rather make one amazing film or like 50 mediocre films? And with the presumption that you would obviously pick the one amazing film over the 50 mediocre films. However, I feel like I would rather make 50 mediocre films than one amazing film, because in the process of making 50 mediocre things, that they're not actually going to all be the same level of quality. They're not all going to be the same amount of mediocre. Some will admittedly be quite bad. Some of those 50 films will just be absolutely god-awful. But some of those 50 films will be higher than average. They'll be more than what was actually put into them. It's about the amount of work compared to the amount of quality that comes out of it. Would you rather spend 2 years making one 7 out of 10 film, right? Or would you rather spend 2 months making one 6 out of 10 film, right? Personally, I would much rather spend 2 months making the 6 out of 10 film. And I don't know if that maybe says a lot about me and the fact that maybe I don't strive for the highest of quality. And obviously, if you have a look at this YouTube channel, if you go down the plethora of videos that have come out by this point, you'll see that I do actually take the idea of putting quantity over quality into practice. I actually am much more interested in making lots of decent things rather than spending all my time trying to work on one amazing thing, because there's no guarantee that with time commitment and energy put into something that you will come out with a quality product. I have spent 4 years making a film. I have spent 1 month making a film. I have spent 1 day making a film. I have spent a couple hours making a film. And I don't know it's a huge difference in terms of quality. Now, I am really proud of that film that took me 4 years to actually put together. Don't get me wrong, and I'm really glad that I did that. I'm glad that I went for the quality approach, because it helps to broaden the mindset of figuring out what works for you, what doesn't work for you. If I only ever just shat things out, right? Spending 1 day on a project, done. Spend 1 day on a project, done. Spend 1 day on a project, done. Right? If I only did that and I had never ever put any effort into doing some kind of long-term project, right? I don't think I would be able to have the same cohesive kind of ideology. It's all about trying to figure out what works for you, what doesn't work for you, right? And for me personally, working on a lot of things tends to work for me, right? Because if I was to spend 4 years making something, and I have proven this to myself multiple times now, if I'm to spend 4 years making something, it's probably not going to be my best thing. There's a decent chance it will be good, right? And I'm happy that I have spent this time working on this thing, whatever it may be, whether that be a film or an album or a book or whatever. I'm glad that that time has been spent and I've gotten something out of it, because it's not just the product at the end of it that I've gotten out of it. It's not the piece of film or art or whatever that I have gotten out of that time commitment. It is the lessons that I have learned along the way, which I can then apply in a faster paced environment, right? So, for instance, my first film, my first short film, I started it in May 2018 and it came out in, I think, January 2019, right? It was called Michael's Lives, and it's kind of awful. It's not very good. It's the sort of thing that you watch just to sort of take the piss out of someone that's being very, very pretentious and getting ideas above their station in terms of being an artiste and just cinephile kind of thing. I was taking from all my kind of inspirations at the time. Like there's a little bit of all kinds of films that I was really into, like Bad Boy Bubby or whatever the one that came, Requiem for a Dream. There's a bit of that in there. A bit of all those kind of films, right? And I kind of cobbled together those things via my naivety, right? And then put them all into one conglomerate mess of a film that's 27 minutes long, that has no right being 27 minutes long, right? And it came out and people liked it. And I think people like it more than I like it. And I don't necessarily know if that's just people being nice, you know, like, oh, wow, well done, you know. And if they are, I guess thanks for being nice. You don't have to humour me though, I don't mind, because I look at this thing and whilst I'm proud of the lessons I was able to take from the experience, I'm not particularly proud of the final product. Conversely, some of these Jonny Mozza videos that I seem to do where I just come out and talk somewhere, right? Some of them are also 27 minutes long and I like them more. They tell their story in a more cohesive, coherent and interesting, captivating way compared to that 27-minute project that I spent 9 months making, right? Compared to the 16-minute film that I spent 4 years working on, right? I like some of these little videos that I do in, you know, 2 hours most of these videos take to make, right? Because I film them and I take them back, do a bit of color grading, and I export them, right? And that's it. That's all that happens with these things, okay? Compared to a film where with a film, I need to first find a location, I need to find a crew, I need to find actors, I need to get the crew and the actors and the location to all be on board, and then I need to get all of them to the location with all the equipment. I need to, I need to get all the equipment set up, and I need to figure out what the shots are, what the script is, what the order of the things that we're going to do for the day is, what the itinerary is. Now I need to do all of those things, and I need to do that multiple times, say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days of filming, right? And then I do that, and then I take all the footage back, and then I have to sync it all and compile it all and do all the assistant editing stuff where I take every single take and then compile all the audio and all the video together, and I need to take all that stuff and then compile it into a single rough cut, and then I need to edit that further and refine it and improve the audio and refine the audio and all that kind of stuff, and then I need to do the color grading on that, and then I need to work on marketing material for the film, trailers and like little extra bits, stuff like that, you know, clips and things, soundtrack. All of these things need to come together before I can then release the film. And at the end of the day, I'm putting all of this effort into something when people don't really engage with cinematic kind of stuff like that anymore, like a narrative, cinematic driven story about a character. It's not the first thing that people go for necessarily. And I don't mind that. I'm not complaining about the fact that people aren't really into their cinema anymore, because I'm not either. I don't watch a massive amount of films, and I sort of take ownership of that. Like for the amount of films that I've made, I certainly don't watch enough films. Right? I've watched a few weird foreign films, and I think I base most of my like weird sort of ideas on those few foreign films that I've actually watched, like Underground and Time of the Gypsies and Delicatessen and stuff like that, right? So you take those inspirations and then put them into a product. But at the end of the day, I just don't think that that's the ultimate way of going ahead, especially if you're trying to build some kind of portfolio because you want to do this as a career, you know? I don't think the traditional sort of way of getting into the filmmaking world is as coherent as it used to be. It's now not a case of making a few really amazing bits of cinema that go around a few film festivals and then gets you loads of jobs. And maybe it never was that, right? Now what it seems to be is about making engaging content, okay? And I don't have a problem with trying to make engaging content because I engage with engaging content because it is engaging, right? And I would much rather have an audience that is entertained than an audience that's sitting there going, oh yes, he's doing something very interesting with that. So I don't give a shit. I'm not like some lofty high art person, despite what the clothes might tell you, right? I'm not some kind of pretentious kind of person. Like one of my favorite films ever is Crank 2. I like Crank 2 slightly more than Crank 1 because it's just so stupid and ridiculous and so over the top that it becomes entertaining. And I want to make entertainment rather than art. Right? If we were going to make some kind of distinction there, I feel like entertainment has the ultimate goal of getting you to escape this current reality, whereas art, and this is a very generic kind of overarching kind of definition, art that I would say is more about trying to get you more in touch with the current reality that we have and to get you to think about the world and about various philosophies and an ideology of seeing the world and trying to see a world in a certain way and that kind of thing, and broadening your horizons and getting you to be more cultural and that kind of thing, right? And I'm not someone that gets a lot of enjoyment out of that personally. So for me to actually go and try and make stuff like that feels a little bit phony, and I feel like you can see that phoniness in my early sort of films. So if you feel like that as well, if you spend most of your time watching, you know, sort of fun YouTube stuff and skits and things like that, why are you going out your way to try and make some kind of lofty high art? Because you're supposed to, because this is what you're told that you're meant to do in like film school and all that kind of stuff, whether, you know, you need to make a short film, you need to make a thing that actually moves people and all that kind of stuff. I'm not interested in moving people. I just want to make people have a good time. I'd rather make, like, I'll tell you some of my favorite films ever, right? Alan Partridge, Alpha Papa, right? The World's End, Crank and Crank 2, Die Hard. There's other stuff as well, like I do like a few more potentially sort of things like Underground, but then even then, Underground is kind of fun. It's not like it's trying to depress you all the time. But I mean, there's a high art and points that are being made through it, and I like when you can do both, right? But I'm not particularly interested in, you know, like Blue is the Warmest Colour, for instance. I got about 45 minutes into that, and I didn't even get to the lesbian sex scene. I just thought, fuck this. 3 hours of mopey twats going around just talking about their problems. I'm just like, shut the fuck up, I've got problems. I don't need to spend my time sympathizing with some character that doesn't fucking exist in a country that I don't live in, right? So I sort of try and take the lessons that I gain from life in general and, you know, experiences that teach you something, and then try and put those into the things that I make, right? And I think by making as many things as possible, I'm able to engage with as many of the ideas that I want to communicate to you as possible. Through doing these Jonny Mozza talking videos, whatever they are, right? I haven't even named I haven't figured out a name for this series. I haven't figured out exactly what this is all about. There isn't a specific topic that we all talk about on this channel. And across 250 videos or whatever that we've done now, right? It's all about just trying to engage with ideas, right? So what will generally happen is, say, you want to make a video on, I don't know, making music, right? And sort of motivating people to make music, right? So we start off with a generic, oh yeah, you should go out and make music because making music is fun type of video, right? And then from there, I kind of look back at the video after I've released it or when I'm releasing it and kind of just sort of think, there's more that I have to say about like this part of the topic, like singing, for instance. I didn't really talk about singing in this, so I could do a whole nother video about singing. I could do a whole other album about making, a whole other video about making albums, or a whole other video about music videos. I haven't even done one about making music videos yet, so I could do one of those. So, and then from those, there's more, you know, topics that I could cover by doing other topics, right? It's a endless spider's web sort of graph. You know, when you go to like those little like employee sort of engagement kind of things where they sit you down, they make you give ideas and they put them on a spider graph and they circle it, and then they, oh, what comes off of those? And what comes off of motivation? Oh, trying hard. Oh, doing this. Oh, yeah, you know. And replace all that with topics for videos, because by doing one video, I come up with an idea for another video through seeing it and seeing what I did and didn't get into, right? You don't need to cover every single thing in one video. If you're going to make a video about music, you don't need to cover every single thing in the realm of music ever for the rest of the time. That doesn't need to be what happens. So you can just do things at your own pace. And at the same time, if you kind of, it's like being on a treadmill, for instance, right? You don't really want to get on the treadmill. You're kind of sitting there like thinking of little excuses to take yourself home and just sit in front of the telly and watch like Bullseye and eat crisps, right? You can do that, right? But if you get on the treadmill and you start like a little bit like this, right? And then you get a bit faster, right? And then, you know, now I'm getting comfortable. And then now I'm jogging, I can jog for a long time, right? I can just keep doing this. And the longer I'm able to sustain this jog, the more stuff is coming my way, the more opportunities that come my way, the more things that I have to create, the more things that I have to say, right? Because I'm engaging with things, because I'm keeping the momentum up, right? And if I'm to stop, right, as happens to all of us many, many times, if you stop, that's when kind of issues come. However, you do need to stop. So it's about kind of controlling your stoppages rather than facing burnout, because you don't want to get into that. So what I would say is you can get quality via quantity. By continuing your jog, the more distance you're able to take in this metaphorical jog, the more landmarks that you will pass, and the more landmarks that you pass, the more experiences that you will develop, and the more experiences you develop, the more things you have to say, and the more things you have to say, the more opportunities for videos will come about, or songs, or whatever, right? If you've never lived, what do you have to write music about? Imaginary scenarios. if you've lived a load of experiences, you can write about those experiences. Maybe not necessarily literally, you know, in an autobiographical manner, although you can. It's more about just taking the experiences and translating them into something that everyone can kind of understand, right? So, I mean, I made an album all about my divorce, right? And it kind of is unique to me and my situation. However, I made sure to write it in a way that it's semi-generic, I guess, in a way that other people could relate to these experiences, whilst at the same time keeping specific, not necessarily specifics of the situation, but things that feel true to me, and put those into the song where I might not see that in other songs. Something that there's a niche to fill here a little bit. So, and part of me feels like the more that you do that, and the more that you engage, and the more that you, with life, and the more that you create things based on your experiences, the more experiences will come your way, and that is a self-fulfilling cycle. And the more that you can keep that cycle going, the more successful you will become in the long run, right? And so with regards to quality over quantity, I tend to think of it in waves. So I have quantity waves and I have quality waves. So if a quantity wave's whoosh, right, big tsunami, right, comes over you, right? And with that, you kind of get a lot of things out there, you're doing stuff all the time, you're engaging with things really quickly, right? But, as I was saying earlier, you don't want to face burnout, so you do have to stop at some point. And that's when the quality side of things comes in, and you can focus maybe on one or two bigger ideas, or even just the same sort of ideas, but taking them at a slower pace. And doing things in both ways, right, will net you different results. Sometimes I come out and film like 6-7 videos in a go, right? And sometimes I come out and film one, right? And sometimes the ones that, while I'm coming out and filming 6 or 7 of these videos, some of those 6 or 7 are better than the one video that I made when I came out, right? Not always. Sometimes that one video is really, really amazing, but not always. Sometimes that one video is kind of mediocre, whereas with the 7, maybe 3 are mediocre, 1 is just outright bad and I don't release it, but 2 are really good. So I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense, in that you need to have a little bit of quality and a bit of quantity in order to gain quality via quantity. You can't always be sprinting. Sometimes you need to take it slow and pace yourself, right? Because it's about maintaining your mental and physical and emotional capacity to create works of art. And that's what we are all doing, even if you're just making like content, like AI generated okay, no, not that. But say you're just making bog standard like YouTube videos, right? You're still making a form of art at the end of the day, and you still have something to say and a message you're trying to get across, even if it's just something comedic and a little basic, right? You're still trying to say something, even if it's like, can't we all relate to, you know, going to Sainsbury's and thinking, oh, why have they changed everything around? You know? We all have those little experiences, and if you can take your inspiration and translate it into a tangible thing, then you are doing something right? And the more that you can do that and get into a groove of doing it, then the more successful you will become. And yeah, that's pretty much the whole point of this video, is it's just about trying to motivate you to start making stuff and to engage with what I like to call the quantity experiment. So October through December of last year, 2024, I set out to make 2 videos a day like this, right? Or at least just 2 uploads a day. And I succeeded at the challenge by the skin of my teeth. But the fact that I did complete that challenge meant that I had suddenly like 180 sort of these videos, right? And they're all covering vastly different topics. Some are about music, some are about like my childhood, some are about, you know, my thoughts on the future or politics or whatever, you know? There's so many different things that I was able to cover in a way that I wouldn't have been able to cover if I was to just go for pure quality. Sometimes you need a bit of quantity, because you shouldn't always try and set out to make the best thing that you've ever made, right? Do you think that, like, I don't know, David Gilmour or whatever, you know, the old sort of 60s, 70s rockers, right, that were making stuff in their peak in the 70s and are still going now, do you think that their, like, 15th solo album, do you think that they think that's their best thing? Of course they don't. They know that they have made some of their best stuff, and now they're comfortable and in a groove, and they're still making stuff that they're proud of. I'm not saying that they're just chucking shit out there for the sake of it. right? They're obviously still proud of what they make and they put a lot of time and effort into it. However, they're not setting out to make the best thing every time, because if they did that, they would paralyze themselves through endless comparisons to their past, right? And if you go out trying to top yourself every single time, you're going to find that after a few times of having successfully topped yourself, that you're going to just come to a point where you go, fucking hell, that's really good. I'm never going to be able to make anything nearly as good as that. Who cares if it's not as good? Just make the bloody thing. Make a few of them, and then eventually you'll get back onto it. And you'll accidentally top yourself again and again and again. So that's kind of the video. It's just trying to keep a balance between your ability to create and your self-motivation. So yeah, that's going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you managed to get something out of it. If you have any thoughts on this, if you have ever engaged with this idea of a quantity experiment yourself, please let me know. How did it go for you? Did you find yourself getting a different result compared to me? Do you disagree with the whole video? Do you agree with the whole video? Let me know. Let me know what's going on with your art and your creativity, or even maybe not necessarily in the field of creativity, maybe in something else. Maybe it's about building buildings as quickly as possible, although maybe that violates OSHA regulations. I don't know. I don't know what the British equivalent of OSHA is. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Love you all. Take care. Bye-bye.